Around 600 miles away from Ukraine sits an unassuming Russian city named Cheboksary. That city is home to the VNIIR Progress plant, where workers toil away day and night to produce something President Vladimir Putin desperately needs: components for his drones, missiles, and glide bombs. Now that factory lies in ruins. A stealthy Ukrainian drone strike just hit home in Cheboksary and has taken out one of Russia's most important factories. Putin is furious. Ukraine's deep strike has just destroyed the brains of his Ukraine war machine. On June 9th, United 24 Media reported that Ukraine had carried out a precision drone strike on an electronics manufacturer that is vital to Putin's war effort. This strike was unlike most that Ukraine has carried out in the past. Rather than sending a horde of 100 drones or more to confuse Russia's air defense and guarantee a direct hit, Ukraine only sent 2 drones into the heart of Cheboksary. 2 was all Ukraine needed. Those drones managed to sneak past Russia's air defenses and touch down on the VNIIR Progress plant in Russia's Chuvash Republic. They had traveled almost 600 miles to get there, and when they hit home, they devastated a plant that is owned by ABS Elektro and responsible for building components Putin needs to get several of his most important drones and missiles into the air. Worse yet for Russia's leader, the plant also builds the UMPK kits Russia uses to convert its Soviet-era dumb bombs into the devastating glide bombs Russia has used to pelt Ukraine's cities for almost 2 years. That plant is now in flames, and Russia can't hide away from what happened. It can't claim that drone debris was responsible. How do we know? There are images from the incident that prove Ukraine scored a direct hit, shared by the General Staff of Ukraine's Telegram page. The picture shows a raging fire and plumes of black smoke rising into the air over the Russian plant. More footage, this time shared by Militarny, offers indisputable proof that it wasn't the debris Russia so often claims causes fires at its plant. The 12-second video shows in clear detail a Ukrainian drone hurtling through the sky before it touches down on the already flaming plant. We hear the drone, we see it fly from the top of the screen, and most importantly, we both see and hear the explosion that it causes when it strikes its target. There's no hiding away from this for Russia. Ukraine just took out the brains of its aerial operation. The Ukrainian General Staff confirmed the strike, along with sharing the picture of the aftermath, stating simply, "The facility was confirmed hit by at least 2 unmanned aerial vehicles, followed by a large-scale fire." Andriy Kovalenko, who leads Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, provided more confirmation. "Something struck the Progress plant in Cheboksary, a facility directly involved in Russia's missile production cycle, including the Iskander system," Kovalenko wrote on Telegram. Progress Factory is responsible for producing guidance, stabilization, and flight control systems that are integrated into strike platforms during the assembly stage. The plant also manufactures Kometa-Trip modules, Russian satellite navigation units that support GLONASS GPS functionality and feature jamming protection, he added. Okay, so Ukraine has confirmed the attack, you might think, but what about Russia? As we said earlier, Russia couldn't hide away from this one. There's too much footage, and the fire burning in Cheboksary is too big to quell immediately. That forced the city's regional governor, Oleg Nikolaev, to also take to Telegram to confirm what Ukraine had already proven. The Progress plant had been taken out. 2 UAVs or unmanned aerial vehicles fell on the territory of the JSC VNIIR, in connection with which a responsible decision was made to suspend production to ensure the safety of employees temporarily, Nikolaev wrote. All of this brings us to some questions. What did Ukraine just destroy, and how did it manage to pull all this off? United 24 Media says that the VNIIR Progress plant specializes in the production of the Global Navigation Satellite System, or GNSS, receivers and antennas that Russia builds into any of its weapons that use GPS or GLONASS to navigate towards Ukraine. Those systems include many of Russia's missiles and drones, which we'll get into in a moment, along with the glide bombs that Putin has used to destroy Ukrainian infrastructure and devastate its cities throughout the war. But that's not all that this plant builds. It's also responsible for crafting electrical components used by Russia's Navy, United 24 says. These include circuit breakers, contactless modules, and relays used in several Russian vessels, such as the Yasen M-class nuclear-powered submarine. Ukraine won't be too concerned about taking any of those submarines out of action. Russia hasn't been able to leverage its Black Sea fleet fully for over a year, thanks to Ukraine's missile and drone strikes in and around Crimea. Still, holding up Putin's plans to build and maintain his submarines is a nice little bonus for a strike designed to take out a key component manufacturer. And there's more. On a wider scale, the VNIIR Progress plant also builds the software and hardware systems Russia uses for its shipbuilding, heavy, and energy industries. SCADA systems, which are control systems that allow for the monitoring of high-end industrial equipment, may have just gone up in flames, as an array of electronic modules and computer technology used in Russia's integrated microelectronics, says United 24. And that's not all Ukraine achieved on June 8th. Euromaidan press reports that Ukraine also launched drone strikes against facilities in the Voronezh, Nizhny Novgorod, and Tambov regions, which forced airport closures in Saratov, Kazan, and several other Russian cities. Those airport closures have become a key part of Ukraine's bigger picture strategy against Russia in 2025. Each closure brings the Ukraine war home for the Russian people, serving as a reminder that Putin's invasion is ongoing and can affect their daily lives. Novaya Gazeta says that Ukraine has managed to shut down 217 airfields between January 1st and May 7th, which is more than the combined 149 closures it forced in 2023 and 24. You can add at least 2 more airfield closures to that list thanks to Ukraine's June 8th attacks. All in all, the Ukrainian strike has delivered great results. A key electronic components plant now lies in flames, more Russian airports were forced to close, and Ukraine forced Russia to expend more of its air defense munition to repel drone attacks elsewhere. Here's how they did it. When we report on Ukraine's drone strikes, we usually tell you that Ukraine sends dozens, if not hundreds, of drones into Russian territory. That's a clear tactic here. By sending so many drones, Ukraine can confuse Russia's air defenses by forcing them to hit decoys, clearing the way for other drones to deliver their explosive payloads to their targets. That's not what happened on June 8th. Ukraine took a far stealthier approach by deploying just 2 of its long-range drones, which managed to sneak through Russia's air defenses to hit the Progress plant. Those drones were both AN-196 Lyutsy, unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs, says United 24, and they're impressive pieces of military hardware. In November 2024, United 24 created a profile of these remarkable drones, dubbing them Ukraine's version of Russia's Shahids. They'd existed before November, but Ukraine had carried out a series of upgrades that may have been what made it possible for those drones to hit the Progress plant on June 8th. Among those upgrades, the outlet reported, was the ability to equip the AN-196 Lyutsy with a 165-pound warhead. That represented a 50% increase over the drone's previous 110-pound payload, with that extra explosive power clearly being demonstrated in Cheboksary on June 8th. United 24 provides other details about the drone, noting that it was introduced publicly in October 2022 by the defense manufacturer Ukroboronprom. The drone has a range of more than 621 miles, and it features a dual-boom low-wing fuselage and a pusher-propeller engine found at the drone's rear. The manufacturers make it using fiberglass reinforced with a metal mesh, which helps to keep its weight down and enables long-range attacks. There are also rumors that Ukroboronprom has managed to double the drone's range to over 1,200 miles, though those reports remain unconfirmed as of United 24's profile. It was the perfect drone for the job. Low profile, long range, and packing a powerful punch, the AN-196 Lyutsy can destroy almost any unarmored target it strikes. Putin just learned that thanks to the Progress plant attack. Now he's left without the vital electronic components he needs to continue his massive aerial assaults against Ukraine. And that brings us to what this strike really means for Russia. Russia just lost the ability to build several of its most vital weapon systems. Among them are several of the drones Putin relies on to pelt Ukraine's cities. United 24 says that Russia uses the components the Progress factory builds to manufacture its Lancet, Orlan-10, and the new variants of the Iranian-made Shahid drones that Russia is building domestically. Those drones, along with the many others that Russia is building, have had devastating effects on Ukraine throughout Putin's invasion. If you need an example, we need only head back to June 6th. On that date, Russia launched a massive air attack mere days after Ukraine managed to take out around 40 of Russia's prized bomber aircraft during its Operation Spiderweb attack. You can learn more about how Ukraine pulled off this brilliant strike, which involved sneaking over 100 quadcopter drones across the Russian border, in our video offering an in-depth analysis of the attack. Russia's response, according to CNN, was to launch a barrage of drones and missiles across huge swathes of Ukraine, with the raid killing at least 6 people and injuring dozens more. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russia used around 400 drones and 40 missiles in the attack, making it one of the largest single-day strikes Russia has used since Putin started his supposed special military operation. The message here is simple. Putin uses his drones to hurt Ukraine, and his attacks have been intensifying. Another CNN report, this time published on June 9th, dug deeper into how Russia has been using drones against Ukraine. It says that Russia's near-daily drone strikes on Ukraine have been growing more intense in 2025. Where Putin once launched dozens of drones in a single strike, he's now launching hundreds. We can see that both before and after Operation Spiderweb. Putin's response to that attack was to send around 480 drones into Ukraine. The day before Ukraine pulled the trigger on its bombing-destroying mission, Russia had hit Ukraine with a force of around 470 drones. The attack showcases a massive difference in the Russian and Ukrainian approaches to using drones, says leading Russia analyst Mark Galeotti. Speaking to CNN, he says, From a political perspective, it's the Ukrainians who demonstrate that they are the nimble, imaginative, effective ones, and the Russians are just thuggish brutes who continue to grind along. In other words, while Ukraine is carrying out carefully planned attacks using its drones, Putin's only strategy is the same one he's used in the ground aspect of the Ukraine war: hope that sheer numbers will win the day. And therein lies the reason why Ukraine's attack on the Progress plant is such a massive win. Ukraine was never going to be able to stop Russia from building the shells and airframes it needs for its drones. No Ukrainian attack would devastate Russia's ammunition stockpiles to the point where Putin couldn't pack those drones with explosives. But an attack on the plant that builds the components those drones need to take to the skies in the first place is a far more viable option. With the Progress plant now in flames, Russia has scores of drone airframes that won't be able to fly to Ukraine, at least for as long as it takes Russia to repair the damage done to the plant. Then there are the missiles. While Russia's drone attacks against Ukraine capture headlines due to the sheer numbers that Putin sends, it's often Russia's missiles that do the most damage to Ukraine's cities and infrastructure. We know that the Progress plant strike has taken out a facility that builds the components used in the guidance systems for three of Russia's most important missiles: the Iskander, the Kh-101, and the Kh-69. All three are devastating in their own ways. Missile Threat says that the Iskander is a short-range ballistic missile that has a range of 310 miles. That may not sound like much, but it's more than enough for Russia to launch this missile from behind the front lines into Ukraine's cities. Iskanders were used in the retaliatory strike to Operation Spiderweb, CNN reports, touching down in Kyiv and the Ukrainian city of Chernihiv, which sits close to Ukraine's border with Belarus. Iskander missiles can deliver a payload weighing up to 1,543 pounds, with Russia having plenty of options when it comes to what that payload is. On the conventional side, it can load the Iskander with earth penetrator, high explosive, and submunition warheads. However, far more worrying for Ukraine is Russia's ability to pack thermobaric warheads, also known as vacuum bombs, into the Iskander. The missile has been in operation since 2006, and Putin has used it constantly during the Ukraine war. Still, we can't ignore the impact that the Kh-101 and Kh-69 have had on Ukraine. The former is an air-launched cruise missile that has a nuclear variant, the Kh-102. It's designed to be a stealth missile capable of avoiding Ukraine's air defense systems, and it can carry a payload weighing up to 900 pounds. As with the Iskander, Russia has options when it comes to that payload. High explosive, submunition, and fragmentation warheads are all available for the Kh-101. And if Putin decides to go down the nuclear route, he can pack the Kh-102 variant with a 250 kiloton warhead that would devastate Ukraine. Add all of this to the missile's range, which is estimated to stretch up to 1,739 miles according to Missile Threat, and you get a cruise missile that can be launched from so far behind the front lines that Ukraine has little chance of reaching it. Instead of taking out the Kh-101 directly, it's just taking out a factory that builds the components used in that terrifying cruise missile. The same applies to the Kh-69. Army recognition calls this a subsonic cruise missile that can reach speeds approaching 621 miles per hour. It can't travel as far or pack as much of a punch as the Kh-101. The Kh-69 is loaded with a 683-pound warhead, which comes in penetrator and high explosive varieties, and its range is similar to the Iskanders at 248 miles. Still, it's another powerful weapon in Putin's arsenal, and one that he's launched regularly using the aircraft he has stationed behind the front lines of the war. And when we say regularly, we mean it. Putin's missiles have rained down on Ukraine constantly during the Russian leader's invasion. In February, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, revealed just how important both missiles and drones have been to Putin's strategy since he first attacked Ukraine. It points out that Russia achieved an average rate of 24.3 missiles and drones launched at Ukraine per day between September 28, 2022 and October 6, 2024. Russia has used a diverse array of missiles with more than 25 unique models. The three Ukraine just nullified with its Progress plant attack are among the most commonly used. The Kh-101, along with Russia's drones and its X-555 air-launched cruise missile, account for 75% of all missiles Russia has launched. Ukraine does a pretty good job of intercepting these missiles and drones. CSIS says that its overall interception rate is 84.1%, meaning most of what Putin sends into Ukraine gets shot out of the skies. However, most isn't all. Given the 24.3 average, that still means that an average of 3.8 of Russia's missiles and drones break through Ukraine's air defenses every day to hit cities, energy infrastructure, and other key military targets. Putin has been achieving success through sheer numbers alone. The thuggish tactics Mark Galeotti spoke about with CNN have worked for Russia so far, as we can see from the sheer numbers of daily missile and drone attacks against Ukraine. With the Progress plant strike, Ukraine may have just found a way to force Putin into reducing the intensity of his missile attacks. After all, a missile, no matter how powerful it is, won't be of much use to Putin if he doesn't have the components needed for that missile's guidance system to ensure it can hit its target. Finally, there are the glide bombs. If ever there was a perfect example of Russia's thuggish approach to the Ukraine war, it would be glide bombs, made using Soviet-era dumb bombs. These glide bombs can weigh anywhere between 1,100 and 6,600 pounds, and they're launched at Ukraine from behind the front lines. The bombs work thanks to a special wing kit attached to the explosive, which the BBC says can cost Russia as little as $20,000 to make. That kit features pop-out wings that allow a dumb bomb to glide toward its intended target. The glide bomb doesn't have to score a direct hit. Its sheer size and power are enough, especially when Russia is launching them in huge quantities at Ukraine cities. How huge? In the BBC's May 2024 report on Russia's glide bombs, it noted that Zelensky claimed that 3,000 of them were launched at Ukraine in March 2024 alone. Reuters' explanation of what glide bombs are revealed that the intensity of these strikes hadn't relented later in the year. During 1 week in the middle of September 2024, Putin's forces dropped 900 glide bombs on Ukraine. They're devastating weapons, and Russia can keep launching them for as long as it's capable of making the dumb bombs it needs to convert into glide bombs. That's the last reason why the Progress plant strike was so important. Earlier we told you that the plant also builds the UPMK kits Russia is using to convert its dumb bombs into glide bombs. Guess what happens now those kits aren't being made anymore? Russia can't launch glide bombs from behind the front lines. If nothing else, the Progress plant strike showcases what Mark Galeotti highlighted when speaking to CNN. Ukraine uses its drones intelligently to maximize the damage it causes to Putin's war machine. That's just what it did on June 8th. The brains of Putin's aerial offensive have been shut down, leaving scores of Russia's missiles, drones, and glide bombs grounded. The reprieve from Putin's pressure tactics may only be temporary. Russia will already be working hard to get the Progress plant up and running again. But that may be enough for Ukraine as it fights to prevent Putin from taking over more of its territory during the summer. What happened in Cheboksary is just one of many examples of the intelligent approach Ukraine has been taking against Russia in 2025. Discover how Ukraine is also using stealthy seaborne drones to hit everything from vital Russian infrastructure to Putin's submarines in our video, Ukraine crippled Russia's nuclear bombers. Now their nuclear subs are next. And remember to subscribe to The Military Show if you want more videos covering the latest successful Ukrainian strikes against Putin's military machine.